Howdy, folks. Happy Tuesday. We've got Russ on location, and it's usually I'm the one on location, but this time Russ is on location. Eck will be joining us at any moment, hopefully. But we'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So let's talk about just weird food. I got a something on my Twitter timeline for frozen ketchup pops in Canada.
Fucking gross.
I mean,
that's disgusting.
It's really gross. Like, I like ketchup. I know you don't. But the thing is, I'm not looking for ketchup on a hot summer day to cool off. I'm looking for something, a little tart, a little satisfying. Like, why is that ketchup? Who in the world thinks of that and thinks that's a good thing? Is it because people actually like ketchup chips? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, I can at least understand ketchup chips, even though I think they're disgusting, because ketchup on, say, French fries,
right.
They're like that combination. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, dill pickle chips don't make a lot of sense, because when does pickle dill goes with like maybe like some baked potatoes or something like that.
It really doesn't.
It really doesn't. But
I guess potato salad if you have like the deli meal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We could say that. I see.
Really,
Esmer says, "Do you remember green ketchup from Heinz?" I vaguely do. I didn't try it though.
Yeah, no, please. I mean,
I don't know. Was that from green tomatoes? I guess it would be.
Probably. I mean, thing is like they have the green hot sauce. So I mean, so I guess okay. So
Give us some green.
Right. So right now we've got Eck on his porch, Russ on the veranda at Starbucks, and me in a plastic enclosed basement. So I'm doing some painting. I'm doing some painting, Eck. So the bookshelf is being
very nice.
It's opaque. Yes, but Russ can.
Very nice. Let me fix one thing real quick.
I'm back, and I think when I came on, Florida has no good Wi-Fi. So I'm just using mine. And Florida's Wi-Fi is horrible. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, I know.
At least where I am here.
Yeah, you were breaking up for a second, but you're okay now. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And no, Terry,
let's just get started.
Well, yeah, Terry, we're not. Okay. I'm not quarantining myself. Okay, Eck, you ready? To go?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm getting there. One thing. Sorry. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay.
All right. Here we go.
All right. Hello, Hockey World. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022.
I'm Mike Attell, and I'm not the boy in the plastic bubble.
I'm Russ Cohen, and I'm not golfing like Eck.
And I'm Eklund, and I never golf. Golf is stupid. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And all right, so we got to start. Russ, you saw the game last night. It was Tampa. It was interesting. The momentum swings in that game were just crazy in the early on, and it felt like it could go either way at any time. It felt like Colorado's going to take it away. It was the longest goal review ever. That beginning of that game. That was just crazy.
They botched that. Yeah, they really botched that. McKinnon and Rantanen were like, listen, McKinnon especially. He was like, all of a sudden they were going to drop the puck, and then someone yells, "You can't!" And they really, and they didn't use that as an excuse, and I don't think they could. But it didn't help, right? Because you lost all momentum with that. So fine. I think the issue was
there should be a time limit.
There should be, and no one seemed to know if there is one, even the players. And so that has to be looked at, I guess. But the real issue was Kemper, in the sense that when Josh Manson plastered Corey Perry into the boards and then kind of looked over him like he was Muhammad Ali after a knockout, then Perry gets up and he does this little love tap push to Kemper. Something was probably said. That's the thought process. And then Kemper gives up a bad goal. And then, of course, Maroon, I don't even think was trying to score. He was going through the crease, I think, just to bother him. And because Kemper had such a weak poke check, the puck went into his stick and went high. And it was kind of like, okay, So Darcy Kemper had a sort of a meltdown, and I think Corey Perry caused it.
Well,
and we talked about it a little bit. Like I talked about, like this is the thing that and I don't, not that we're right or wrong or whatever, but I mean, this is what I was worried about with him, and this is what I had heard from other places where he played, that you could get under his skin, that you could get to him, and that eventually someone was going to get to him. In Minnesota, a little bit like nastier than St. Louis up front. I think Minnesota would have been interesting to see against him because I think they would have given him a little more trouble. But he's out. He's out now. Is he going to be back for next game? Have they said anything?
Oh, yes, he is.
Yeah, nobody said anything, but after the way Francouz played, I don't think he's getting the shot.
No, I have a solution for Darcy Kemper. Take a baseball swing like Ron Hextall on Kent Nielsen on Corey Perry, and then you'll shut him up.
Well, here was the weird thing. I don't want to advocate that, Mike, but you're not wrong in the sense that, Eck, you probably were surprised, like I was, that after Perry pulled that with Kemper, nobody went over to Perry again. No player was there from Colorado. That was weird.
Yeah. And Colorado's had this issue prior to, especially with Kadri out of the lineup, that they don't. Remember one of the reasons they got Kadri. They're not a real, they don't think physically as a team. They've got just a ton of skilled players. They're not that way. This is what Tampa was before Tampa figured out they had to be a little bit more physical. But yeah, what do you say the way Francouz played? It wasn't that terrible. He gave up one goal.
It wasn't just me. A lot of people had commented how he kind of looked uncomfortable. He was out of the crease way too far. He didn't look comfortable. I'm going to say that.
We got to get over the fact that Francouz never looks comfortable in goal. That is his game. That is Tim Thomas, Hasek, and Tim Thomas. These guys never looked comfortable in goal.
That just exudes confidence to the team in front of you.
No, but once you realize that is how he plays, and that is the way that is what he does. He is confident. He doesn't give up goals. But he's the fact of the matter is he's going to do things strangely all the time, and it's hilarious to me to listen to everybody just killing him today. You're not the first person I heard. It's just amazing. The guy is 6-0 in the playoffs right now. He is, it's just it's amazing.
Okay. So wait. Pavel Francouz is 6-0, and that's all on Pavel Francouz. But Jack Campbell, with all of his victories, that's on him and not on the Leafs.
Yeah, that's on Jack Campbell too.
No, the 6 victories is on the Avalanche. It's on the Avalanche. The team in front.
You're fighting. You're arguing against yourself. You don't realize it.
No, I'm
You're
not.
The one who's arguing that it was. Your argument is arguing that it had nothing to do with Campbell. It had everything to do with the team.
I'm saying it's the same thing. I'm saying that Francouz is an average goaltender with an above-average team, and Jack Campbell is a slightly above-average goaltender on a good team.
Here's the one thing that stood out. When the goalies, before they started the game, they put up the stats.
Yeah.
And the fact that Kemper is 8-2 at the time, but had a .901 save percentage, that's a tell.
Isn't that something? It's Colorado's out shooting people. They have to outshoot people. The reality is, if you're a .901 save percentage, Francouz is .922, I think. Francouz.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're not after yesterday, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, he let it one goal on 8 shots.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's going to definitely bring it down. But still,
that's 875. That's an 875 save percentage. So
yeah, but anyway, we'll see.
Thanks for that,
Time will tell on this one. Time will tell.
But okay, let's talk about this because we know the dynamic that Tampa shows and Tampa relies on to win. They're extremely talented. They're extremely clutch. They have the best goaltender in the league, but they are overly aggressive and cheap. I'll say this. I will take Nikita Kucherov on my team. I think anybody would. But Nikita Kucherov is the Russian Daniel Alfredsson. He is a slime ball, and him getting.
Yeah, he was holding the stick in the first period early a couple times in the corner, and nothing was called.
Yeah, and he threw an elbow at Josh Manson before he got cross-checked. I can't remember who cross-checked him, but he got what he deserved. And now, he gets away with it because he's such an incredibly talented player. I despise these superstar players who think that they can get away with murder. Ovechkin is one, and Kucherov is another. And
these guys would argue on their point. Not that they're here right now, but they would argue that they put up with a heck of a lot too, which they do. They get hacked at, they get slashed at. Kucherov is always getting hit. Like he's always getting, people are always the same with, Ovechkin. And the way you keep that from happening is you have to stand up for yourself a little bit. I mean, McKinnon's the same way. McKinnon takes a lot of cheap shots too. Like he
does do some. There's no question. I've seen it.
I don't think that Kucherov is particularly. He's the dirtiest player. I mean, in the league. I mean, he's
incredible. But let's say this, Ek. John Cooper being a New York lawyer, or at least a Long Island lawyer, I didn't believe him for a minute saying that he thinks Kucherov could play. I don't believe him.
Yeah, that was a real his expression when he went into the boards was not good. Like looked, that hurt a whole lot. If he could play.
And he tried to come back on the ice, and he couldn't, and he went back to the bench, and
and it was almost screaming in pain.
So I think this is a little fog of war being done by Cooper. He's saying, "Oh yeah, Kucherov's going to play." I would really be okay.
Well, he didn't say that. He said, "I think he's going to play."
I think he's going to play. Is what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to unfortunately, in a weird way, this could rush Kadri back.
They could,
because you can see now that Tampa is gonna, like, Perry and those guys are gonna take their shot. They're gonna take their shot now at McKinnon, and they can. This is going to be you heard our superstar. If Kucherov is out, they're gonna try to take their guy out.
Well, they know I was on the Colorado side yesterday, and Rantanen and McKinnon are well aware of this war of attrition that they're in. So they know. They know what's going on out there. The only tough thing about if they bring in Kadri is not at home. Tampa can match up against him because I don't think he's going to be good on faceoffs or even going to be able to take them.
Yeah.
And so that's where Tampa's going to have a little edge. If you bring Kadri back in Denver, in Colorado, it's a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, this is we've seen it before. It reminded me so much of the Rangers series in a way where Tampa just when you really think they are out of it, like if they give up the first goal, that comes back, and then on at least on television they were saying things like they were saying stuff along the lines of this is this non-goal is like the equivalent of Tampa scoring a goal. Like they thought the momentum was that big. It was like that change.
Yeah, but this is only because they're a two-time champ. If this were any other team, this is part of the narrative. Like, I get it. It would be great to see a three-time champ, but I think the benefit of the doubt that's being given to Tampa is greater than any we've seen for any team in the last 10 years.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely, it is, and we also haven't seen a team try to three-peat in that period of time either. So,
right,
like you say, that there's no question it's connected. How's the crowd? Like, how was?
The crowd was amazing. Actually, It was even better than last year, and I think maybe because even though we're not out of the pandemic, people feel that way. So I feel like they feel like it's more like normal, but they also had those four-sided ping pong paddles that were just making an incredible amount of noise. Right. So, good for them for using a really noisy thing and at least not it being an air horn. So that helped, but the crowd was great. Do I think it helped Tampa? I really don't. I actually, because again, Colorado scored one goal and it got off the board, then they scored the other goal. And so I don't think the crowd did anything for Tampa, but I do think the crowd atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah. Well, they were the place that invented the thunder sticks,
Yes.
Surprised that, which is now at every wedding and bar mitzvah you'll go to.
So I got a quick story. So when Sportsology started in 2001 or 2, we went out to the All-Star game in Houston, and we made 100 of those thunder sticks, and we just gave them out to people at the ballpark, not for the All-Star game, but for like the skills competition.
Yeah.
And we heard them, man. I mean, we paid for that just for the advertising, and you could hear them. So yeah, it was funny.
Imagine if somebody still had one of those, Russ. What kind of collector's item that would be?
I would say throw it out if you have it.
We did that for the first winter classic up in Buffalo. We brought like 200 bright yellow Hockey Buzz wool hats that we just gave out. And
there you go.
You could see them in the crowd because they were just bright yellow.
Yeah, that's good advertising.
Fortunately, the Penguins were wearing blue because we were there. We're like, wait a second, the Penguins are yellow.
Yeah,
maybe not good work.
And it was also murky with no sun because it was Buffalo. But
yeah, right. It didn't much matter.
Yeah.
So
Well, let me just say one thing, and then we can, I guess, move on. I get Corey Perry's dynamic. I get what he what now in the twilight of his career he brings to a team. But really, I mean, I almost get the impression he's sort of sullying his legacy because really, I mean, okay, that hit behind the net, he was down on the ice and he was basically he was begging for the call. And then when he didn't get the call, when Manson hit him, that's when he went after Kemper. He's just like, I mean, he's a suck. He's one of these guys now who's just trying to draw people into penalties and cheap shot them. And really, it's weak. It's so bad.
I'll tell you what. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think Ross Colton took the brunt of being Corey Perry's teammate because Logan O'Connor knocked the snot out of him.
Oh, he did. O'Connor, man, he is a tough guy. He's a good fighter.
Well, why wasn't that Perry is the question. Why did it have to be Ross Colton? Ross Colton paid the price.
And the funny thing is when they were in Anaheim, you know who probably fought a lot of the battles for Corey Perry when he was doing his cheap shot act? Josh Manson, when he was teammates with him.
It's true. So, I mean, but Perry, I don't think this sullies anything for him. I mean, this guy has been in the Stanley Cup Finals for how many years in a row now? He's just
right. He's lost every time.
Yeah, but that still, I mean, he's there. You know, it's like
he'll be in that part of the Hall of Fame where Brad Marchand will be the jerk part.
Yeah, and I mean, a guy who was MVP in the league, right? Like he was an MVP once. I mean, and the thing about him that is so frustrating at his age, I think, is that he still has a whole lot of skill. Like he still has, he doesn't do things quickly, but he does things very efficiently, and they put him on the power play a lot. He's great at picking up rebounds.
He's like Matt Cook with skill.
Yeah, he's way better than that. Yeah.
He's way better than Matt Cook.
He's not even close. I mean, he's like
skill. Matt Cook with skill.
No, but he's not. We
don't know what that's like, Mike.
No, people have hated Corey Perry forever. It's not like this doesn't. Even when he was winning MVPs, by the way, if you asked LA Kings fans back then who their least favorite player in the league was, it was Corey Perry. It was just
right.
He has been doing this game. I think he's the Thomas Sandstrom of the NHL. Like to me, he goes back to Thomas Sandstrom way back when, who was just so incredibly annoying to play against, but had some skill too, and would just and there's nothing better for a guy like that than than Colton fighting his fights for him, and then Perry coming back and scoring a goal. I mean, that is the craze that is so friggin' frustrating for the other team. It's nuts, when he doesn't fight his own fights and yet he still kills you on the score sheet.
Well, when somebody spears him in the genitals, that'll stop him.
I mean, I'll take no, it won't. It won't. He won't. I mean,
It actually won't.
He doesn't care. I mean, he revels in this, and he always has. It's not new. It's
and by the way, Braden Point is out again next game too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there is no Kucherov and no Point, then you really are starting to get. And
then it's going to be a little rougher. Then then the goon squad will be out for them. You watch.
Well, then Riley Nash will be in the lineup, and then I'm trying to think who would be the next guy in. It would
the drop from Kucherov to Riley Nash is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Nick Paul is playing at probably around 50% because he got hurt yesterday. Came back, scored a goal, but he was not anywhere close to.
You know what they might do? Would they bring in Cal Foote and go with the extra defenseman?
They could.
They could do that.
Yeah, they've done that before.
11-7.
Yeah. I think they would go 11-7 and try and smother Colorado. But here's the funny thing. How a lot of times we'll say guys are delusional about post game and what happened in the game. I actually think McKinnon was 100% right when he said, honestly, I thought we played pretty well. He goes, I know the score doesn't reflect that, and and Tampa's great at taking advantage of missteps and missed opportunities, but we did a lot of things right, and him and Rantanen were controlling the puck for a lot of that game. They just didn't get goals, and
Landeskog. But you know what? And I don't think he intended it this way, Russ. But by making that comment, that sort of just throws Kemper under the bus even more. That's basically saying, well, we were in this game and we played well.
No, but he defended Kemper. When he was asked point blank about Kemper, he defended him and said, You know, I would just tell him, shake this off. He's been great all year. Like he didn't even hesitate. And Rantanen,
they're
I
a
think,
4-goal team. They're a 4-goal team. If they don't score 4 goals, they're not good.
No, that's fair. But
how they say it.
Rantanen was very smart the way he broke it down. Like, here's the funny thing. Don't ever let it be said that players aren't looking at stat sheets when they're handed out in between periods and looking at video in between periods, because Rantanen was like, well, they scored 3 goals from the slot, and that can't happen.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. It's so true. I mean, McKinnon was right when he said that too, and the fact that they had a lot of shots, but not only
when
did
they were
have
4-on-4, he and Makar were basically just doing what they wanted with the puck. It just didn't go in.
It was pretty insane. Like, again, my wife is not a hockey. She knows hockey. She'll watch it. She watches it when it's on, especially this time of year. But she doesn't know the players really. And for her to come out and say, you know, that guy Makar, man, he's something. Like, and it's rare for her to ever point out anybody. You know, it's just that's the kind of thing that happens when you got a guy who's super special like that, like somebody who's not even really jumps off the map. But the other thing about the Colorado where they did play well is they fired there were 27 or 28 shots on net that were blocked. So it was blocked or missed attempts, I think it was.
Well, they're doing their best now. Like, they're faking shots. They're trying to go around the shot blockers. Like, they're really well aware of that.
It's like 60-some attempts a goal. I mean, so it's hard to sit there and say you didn't play bad. You played poorly, from McKinnon's perspective, when you have 60-some attempts on net.
And I know we talked about it yesterday, but now every time a goal gets by Vasilevsky, you have to see where it's going. And both goals last night went high blocker. The first one was a flubber, but it went high corner over his blocker, and then the Landeskog goal was the same place. I mean, clearly their scouting report is shoot high blocker on the guy. And
but I will say, oh, sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I will say probably in the second period, the one that he stopped that would have been a third goal with the split, that was probably the best split, and Shesterkin's really good at it too. That was the best split we've seen from a goalie all year and maybe ever.
Yeah, it was very Marc-Andre Fleury-like, but
it's even better than that. Yeah.
But I said in our group text, he's Gumby. He's so flexible. It defies logic. I hope for his sake, like later in his career, he doesn't have like hip issues, but he's incredibly flexible.
But here's the funny thing: these are two good teams, right? So like McKinnon goes, look, we didn't expect the sweep. They don't like it, obviously, but they weren't expecting it. And he's like, this is the first road loss in the playoffs. Like, we were probably due for this. And then if you look at Tampa, yes, Vasilevsky's better at home, and they've won their last 8 in a row at home. So, like, these rolling things, both these clubs have these kinds of stats where you can look at, and they're pretty dominant.
Yeah. Oh, they really are. I mean, and the fact that they're 16-3 in general, like it's just well, no, I'm sorry, not 16-3. No, they're 14-3, right? It's 14-3.
Yeah.
So that's just
as impressive as the Colorado road record, which was 10-0, now 10-1. Tampa has only lost once at home in the playoffs, and you know who beat them? Game 3, first round against Toronto. That was the only game they've lost at Amalie Arena.
So this is, something's got to give here. And look, I could give you an argument on both sides. I really can. I kind of think if Kemper can get through the first period with no goals, I think that would do a lot for Colorado's confidence. If Kemper gives up 2 in the first, they got a problem.
Well, it was funny because early on in the game, I was saying, wow, Kemper made 2 or 3 really nice saves.
He looked good.
He looked really good. And then that Cirelli goal, I think, deflated the balloon, because don't tell me that was on purpose, that he was trying, he was like letting the puck go through when he faked. He was trying to.
I do think that was on purpose. I do.
No, I don't think so.
Because I've seen guys do that. I've seen guys do that in the shootout.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the play on that is, he's going so fast. He's coming from such a bad angle.
That you're going to follow the stick and not see where the puck was.
Right. Follow the stick, and also, he's kind of looking for the rebound off that play in a way. Like he's going to, you're hoping that, a goalie makes a save, pops out to you or something like that. couple of things I want to talk about today. They're a little different, but then we'll get back. So we have a couple of stories, of course, of signings, but we'll get to that too. But it was 30 years ago yesterday, Russ, that I sat in my living room and listened to the ruling on the Eric Lindros case. And whether Eric Lindros has been traded to the Rangers or the Flyers. 30 years ago yesterday, and it was such a magnanimous moment for me as a 24-year-old, I guess.
Yeah.
Just that whole story is so. There needs to be like a movie or a book on the way that all thing went down.
Yeah, I would do like a little 30 for 30 documentary, if nothing else, because I remember when it was happening, it was kind of like being updated on the radio. It was, and still to this day, Neil Smith believes the Rangers should have had him.
Yeah.
But both sides believe they should have had him. It's an incredible thing, but the funny thing is if that doesn't happen, no way Colorado wins that Stanley Cup years later.
I mean, they get all they get out of it. The Rangers win a cup not too long after that, right?
I was gonna say because it was like Nemchinov, Kovalev.
Yeah, the Rangers were giving players away too.
Right, let me finish. But their choice of Van Beesbrook or Richter, if the Rangers had made that deal, they probably would not have won the cup in '94.
Correct.
Yeah, and it is just one of the at the time there was this feeling in Philadelphia that the Flyers would never ever pay the money to get a guy like a Messier or a Gretzky or a Lemieux.
Yeah,
it was a thing. Even though we were spending a lot of money, they to go after one superstar, they hadn't done it. They hadn't done that yet.
How long did Russ Farwell last as GM after that trade? Not much, not long.
No, like 2 or 3 years. I mean, he's still around though. He's still bouncing around. But so the weird thing is,
was Russ Farwell before or after Jay Schneider?
Oh, he's kind of during. Like he's during because Jay I think hired Russ Farwell.
Okay,
if I remember right. So the weird thing that I know a little bit of information that may be out there but not super readily available on this one. So the Flyers, you remember the trade that they threw, as you said, Russ, properly. They traded Forsberg to Quebec. /
and
Colorado.
Like Duchesne, right?
Right, Duchesne,
Mike Ricci,
Kerry Huffman, I think.
Ron Hextall.
$20 million in cash, whatever.
Yeah.
They got back another guy too in the deal.
I'll pull up the whole deal.
And who played on the line with Lindros once in a while. What's his name? Gosh, he was like a Goonie type player.
Here you go. Steve Duchesne, Peter Forsberg, Ron Hextall, Kerry Huffman, Mike Ricci, Chris Simon.
Chris Simon, there you go.
Future considerations and two first round picks and $15 million.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Mike Ricci, you got to remember too, was considered one of the top young players.
He was really good. He was a good defenseman.
He was drafted third overall.
No, not that high.
No, not that high.
He was in the top 5.
Fourth. He was fourth.
Okay. Not that high.
All right, whatever. Yeah.
Fourth. Come on.
No, that's fair.
I thought he was third.
I remember that draft. I remember that specific draft because that was such an incredible group of players at the top of that. Remember that was Jágr, Nedved, Primo, Ricci.
And Nedved had just defected.
Yeah, Owen Nolan, Nedved, Primo, Ricci, Jágr, Scott Sissons.
Yeah, that was incredible. Scott Sissons, yes. All right, so the thing I know about this trade is now the Rangers thought they made a deal, as we know. The Rangers thought they made a legitimate deal, and they thought they made a legitimate deal after the Flyers turned down, after Quebec had made an offer to the Flyers that the Flyers did turn down, and that offer, as I was told, it did not include Forsberg. Forsberg wasn't going back, but instead included Rod Brind'Amour, who at the time.
Right.
The Flyers refused to trade Rod Brind'Amour in the
That's
deal.
true. Yeah, I've heard that.
So then the Rangers make their deal, or they think they make their deal, and the Flyers think they make a deal at the same time. There's a lot of stuff that Quebec is definitely playing all sides of things. Quebec screwed it up. Quebec wanted to make Quebec. Let it be known, Quebec wanted to trade him to the Rangers. That was the deal.
There's no question because the Quebec GM after the Flyers made that offer called Neil Smith.
Right, and he said we got a deal, and So when this whole thing's going down, the Flyers were really the underdogs to get this because Quebec said we traded him to the Rangers. And the Rangers said, "Yeah, we traded. So when the team that makes the trade says we trade him to the Rangers, that's like But
was this the origination of the trade call? Because I mean, obviously, whoever makes the trade call.
Good question.
I don't know.
It probably was.
It might
Could be.
Well, I mean, there was a trade fax back then too that I thought preceded the trade call, but yeah. So when this deal goes down, it obviously changes the course of those three teams in incredible ways. That's like you said, the Rangers go on to win a Stanley Cup. I mean, if they take Richter in that deal, if they have the choice of Richter or Van Beesbrook, they take Richter in that deal. That just changes everything for the Rangers, right? So
true.
Because if they have Richter, they don't trade for Patrick Waugh because they don't need him.
Right, they wouldn't need Waugh.
Right, and but you would think Richter wins the Stanley Cup there, because he's in my opinion every bit Patrick Waugh. I mean, although it's hard to say that, maybe, I don't know.
Not as great, but great.
Very, very, very good. And to me, the biggest joke about the NHL Hall of Fame is that I'll always say it whenever I mention Mike Richter's name. That Mike Richter's not in the Hall of Fame is the most ridiculous thing of all time. But anyway, I just thought we should talk. I thought, great memory. Where were you, Russ, when you heard this, like the whole thing going down? Were you listening on the radio?
I think I was listening on the radio because I think I was still working in the city, in New York City, and so. Yeah, I think FAN had that on. I think FAN was around then.
They were just around. WIP was not around yet.
Right.
I remember listening to the whole thing on KYW, which in Philadelphia is the news station, that does like news every 20 minutes, and just for them to put anything on that was like, it was like a 12-minute long thing that he went into about it. KYW never put something of that length on in a row because they had traffic on every twos, traffic on the twos, that kind of thing. So they just kept it. It was nuts. I mean, I remember pacing in my living room, just wanting this to happen so badly.
Well,
but it went on for days. It wasn't like it was,
Yeah,
but there was the moment where Bertuzzi, we'll never forget his name. Bertuzzi was the arbitrator.
Bertuzzi's dad, Larry Bertuzzi, was the.
Right, I learned a lot about that. Was when I first learned about arbitration. Things like that, like what arbitrators really were. They're not judges; they're arbitrators. Is kind of
FAM was around then. Yeah, they were. And actually, so I wasn't working in the city at that point. I was in Virginia, so that's why I was desperately listening. I was still in the hotel business, but down in Virginia, so that's why I was desperately listening on FAM.
Well,
at night.
One bit of trivia: I was at the draft in Buffalo when Lindros was drafted, and he got booed when he didn't put the Quebec Nordique uniform on.
Yeah.
So it was like it was over. Well, it was a year until he got traded.
It was
right. It was a long time.
You're looking at it right now. It was right before the next draft, right? So you're looking at because it was this time of year. And
he played for Canada at the Olympics in Albertville in '92 in February.
With Bobby Clark as the GM, right? So that was the other thing about that. I think Bobby Clark put him onto that team, and gave him more responsibility. They made sure he had more responsibility than people really thought he should have had at that point. I remember they were kind of concerned. He was a very good player, obviously, but and then also the World Cup of Hockey, right? Does the World Cup of Hockey happen before he plays in the NHL?
Yes.
Right.
The Canada Cup. It was still Canada Cup at that point.
It was called the
Canada. And I'll tell you, right after
it was called the World Cup.
Was it World Cup? It was World Cup in It was World Cup in '96. I don't know if it was World Cup in '91.
I'm almost 100 because it was the first event that happened at the now Wells Fargo Center, First Union Center, whatever you want to call it.
I can tell you that after this happened, that Lindros 4-sport card from Scoreboard was super, super hot. And Scoreboard was out of Cherry Hill, and then eventually went out of business. But
Scoreboard was out of Cherry Hill.
They were a big time. That was a big time trading card, though.
The guy who ran that place was on my paper route. So I drove my bike to his house every day and threw papers at him.
It was still the Canada Cup in '91.
Oh, okay.
It was still called the Canada Cup, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, World Cup. The first World Cup was.
Okay, the first World Cup was next. That's interesting. Okay, but that was the first event that took place in the Wells Fargo Center, which was before the Flyers played that season. So Lindros' first game in his home building was not as a Flyer. It was for Team Canada.
Right.
And then watching Lindros' first game as a Flyer, he
Well,
just
that's like you went to the World you went to the in 2016 at the
right.
That was Austin Matthews' first performance
That's right.
at that arena, and it was before he ever played a game as a Leaf.
That is an interesting similarity there. Like in a lot of ways.
And that's a good segue toward tonight because Russ is going to the awards ceremony for the awards.
Yes, let's talk about that.
And I mean, interesting thing that we could do it this way, because they were talking on the radio this morning about which one of these awards you think will be the closest vote. And in my mind, I think it's going to be the Norris because I think Makar and Yossi will be relatively close. I think Yossi's going to win, and that's going to fly in the right now in the playoffs because Makar is just unbelievable. But I think that'll be the closest vote. I'd be shocked if the Hart or if the Vezina are anywhere close to being.
Yeah.
And Shesterkin is going to win by leaps and bounds, and I think Matthews will win by a healthy margin in the Hart. I was a little dumbfounded. They think that McDavid is going to win. If McDavid wins the Hart Trophy, there should be a friggin' investigation. It's ridiculous.
No, but again, I think Shesterkin should win the Hart, but I think also the amount of Toronto writers is going to prevent that. I do.
Sometimes it works against Toronto players too, though. So
no, not for this case. It won't.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I do think that you're right. I think that there's a feeling to give Yossi this award.
I don't think that feeling's there, Eric. I think he deserves it. I think Makar is the one that people have the feeling that is going to win this thing, but Yossi deserves it.
Is the feeling now, or is the feeling on?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Mike on that. Like, I get the sense that they know that Makar is going to win this for several years now. So basically, they're sitting back and saying, okay, we're going to give this the last.
I hope that's the case. I'm not as confident.
Yeah, who's going to win by the biggest margin, whether it be Shesterkin or Seider? I think Seider was clearly the best rookie, so he's going to win.
No, but Bunting will get votes. I think Shesterkin will win by the biggest margin.
Yes, I do.
Starting to rain. 1 second.
For the Vezina.
Starting to rain out here. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Stop my comment for 1 second.
Yeah.
You gotta go underneath under
I got a couple more awards I can talk about, then I got to run.
Okay. Well, I'll mute Eck while he dodges the raindrops. Okay, what awards are you talking about?
Well, as far as so we mentioned the Calder, that's fine. With the Norris, I did vote for Yossi. I don't remember who you voted for, if you want to say, but I do.
I think I went Makar Yossi.
Okay, and I went the opposite, and I do think it should be Yossi's year, but I don't feel super confident about that. But I do feel like the Lindsay's going to be McDavid no matter what we think or do.
Yeah, I'll be forthcoming on my votes because they're going to be announced tonight. I went Makar, Yossi, Hedman, Fox, and Ekblad in the top 5.
Yeah, I can tell you on the Calder, I can't tell you everybody I picked because I am not near my list, but I can tell you that one of my picks, 4 or 5, was Matt Boldy because had he played longer, if you prorated what he did as a rookie, it was a great year.
It was pretty crazy.
Well, I voted for Seider 1. I voted for Michael Bunting 2, Anton Lundell 3, Zegras 4, and Boldy 5.
Yeah, they were all in my top 5, maybe in slightly different orders, except for Yossi at 1. But Eck, I was saying with the Lindsay, it's
McDavid, yeah.
Yeah, they'll give McDavid. They have to give McDavid something.
It's got to be McDavid. I mean, and he is. I mean, the players all.
I mean, he had an amazing year. I can't say it's.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah. I mean, and the reality is like he just does so much. He's just so respected by the other players in the league who just look at the skill level, and it's just hard to top that. I mean, I think he's okay getting. I'm okay with him getting it. At this point, still, he's proven it. I mean. To me, McKinnon is the one who kind of gets shafted a little bit, but nothing really for him. There's no real award for that guy, and he had a hell of a year.
I think he was sort of undone by the fact that the team overall was so good that he sort of got lost in the weeds.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, he might end up getting to raise the big trophy, so he's probably not going to complain about
Yeah, no, that's true. And the thing is,
it.
I mean, okay, McDavid benefits from the fact that, he had 123 points.
Yeah.
Draisaitl had 110. The next
Yeah.
highest points were 55. So
Yeah.
you done? Yeah, Russ is
Oh, yeah. You're
yeah,
talking about a team that's just like crazy.
right. It's a
Hold on one
two-man
second.
team.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
1 second.
It's a two. That's my argument, folks. And if you want to ask a question while Ak is holding here, I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl, it's a two-man team. I think that McDavid probably lost enough votes to Draisaitl that he's probably going to end up third behind Matthews and Shesterkin for the Hart. I voted Matthews one. I had two guys who probably will end up fourth and fifth. I had Huberdeau and Goudreau, and then Shesterkin and McDavid is my top five. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I'm anxiously awaiting what the votes.
Sorry, guys, I do have to run. I got a problem here, so no big deal.
Okay,
But I gotta
all
go.
right. I'll end the show, Ak. No problem. Okay, so we'll end the show with a couple questions here from the chat if you want to ask them. So no game tonight, obviously. Game 4 tomorrow night. It sounds like it's going to be Kemper. Michael Cohen, you think that Matthews would trade the Hart for a series win? No, but I think he wants a series win. But it would help if the team would add the players that they need to add and subtract the players that they should subtract to make that possible. I believe that the Leafs will not win a series as long as they have 4 forwards making $40 million, and you can't trade or won't trade 3 of them. And the one that you can trade, get value back, is Nylander. And I'm hopeful that the Leafs will finally do what they need to do. And now that's part A of the equation. Part B is getting value for him, or if you're trading him to clear the salary, making the right decision either in free agency or trade to add the player that will help them win. I think that they're on the precipice. They played really well this year against a good Tampa team, but there still are holes. And I just don't think that core group in Toronto, as it's currently constructed, is conducive to winning. I think they need to be stronger in other areas. Randy says, do I think Matthews will sign an extension? I do, because I think the Leafs will pay him the most. And remember, the year after his extension, Tavares' contract expires. More than likely, I would think that Tavares is going to be like a Joe Pavelski type of guy who takes a little bit less to stay with the team. They'll want him back. He'll probably, I would think, unless they lowball him, he'll want to stay in Toronto. So I'm not saying he'll take like $750,000, but I think he'll take $4 or $5 million on a new deal. I don't think they're going to trade Tavares. Let's see here. McDavid more valuable than Matthews? No, not this year. No. We're talking about the regular season? No. Terry 3Gs, any Leafs rumors or updates? Everything right now, Terry, is the goaltending. And I mean, you hear a lot of stuff one way or the other. And I mean, I'll say this. I don't think Jack Campbell's coming back. I have not heard a rumor. I'm just looking at what the situation is. Campbell is going to make over $5 million in free agency. New Jersey, Edmonton, maybe a couple other teams will be interested. I don't think the Leafs are spending $5 million in Jack Campbell. If they're spending $5 million, it's on a goaltender that they know for sure is a linchpin number 1 starter. And I think Campbell is good. He was not at fault for them losing in the playoffs, but I don't think that they're convinced he's a number 1. He's been hurt every year in Toronto, and he's had gaps during the season where he struggled, especially last year, where after December the 1st, his stats were a below average. .895 save percentage, goals against over 3. He had the wins, but that's, I think, more on the team than him. Let's see here. Do you think the Devils will trade their second overall pick, or is that all smoke and mirror? I think it's smoke and mirrors, Esmir. It sounds like the guy that they like is Slavkovsky. If somebody wants to step now, what I do think is possible, I don't think they're trading trading the second overall pick for like Alex DeBrincat, something like that. I think they might trade down if they got something valuable. But yeah, I don't get the feeling that they're going to just trade out a number 2. So let's see, Randy, do you think Tkachuk gets traded at the draft? No, I don't. Honestly, it all depends on what happens with Goudreau. If they sign Goudreau, then I think there's a chance that they use the LTIR on Monahan, and then they sign Tkachuk to a long-term deal. Monahan, his contract expires at the end of next year, and you divvy up the $6+ million that he's making between Tkachuk and Goudreau on a new deal, and then there you go. So, yeah, Esmir says they don't need centers. Well, Slavkovsky is not a center. He said at the combine he could play center, but everybody thinks he's a power forward. And that would go with Hischier and or Hughes up the middle. They seem to think Dawson Mercer could be their number 3 center. Derek in the chat, last one here. How much does Kadri get as a UFA? At least 8. If Ryan Johansson gets 8, Kadri's getting 8+. And you're going to have teams like Washington, Philly, Boston bidding on him. I don't know where he's going to go. For some reason, I think Philly, because he's a Philly type of player, but they would have to clear out a lot of cap space to be able to do. They'd have to trade JVR or buy out JVR. They'd have to move things around. And Kadri's 32. I just don't know. Randy saying left wing or right wing. Do you mean for Slavkovsky? I'm not sure what you're referring to. If it's Slavkovsky, I think he's a right-hand shot. So that would mean he's a right winger. But you have had players play on the off wing here. Let me see. Yuri Slavkovsky. No, he's a left-hand shot. So he's a left wing. He's a left winger. Okay, folks, we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast for the departed Russ Cohen, for the departed Eklund. I'm Mike Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just